I used to think loyalty was a kind of insurance. You put enough of it in, and when things went wrong, it paid out. The business was never formal in the beginning. It grew out of a garage and a borrowed laptop, out of weekends that turned into weekdays. I built the software because something had to hold the orders together, and I was the one who could do it. There were no contracts. There was coffee cooling on the workbench, and my dad's voice saying, "You're good at this. Keep going." So I did. The system became the business's spine. Inventory, billing, compliance logs, quiet things that don't sell themselves but make everything else possible. I wrote it carefully, assuming permanence, assuming trust would be enough. It wasn't. By the time I noticed her influence, it felt rude to acknowledge it. Meetings I wasn't invited to, decisions relayed secondhand, a chair added to the conference room that didn't quite fit the table. I told myself families were complicated and companies were worse, and that my job was to keep the machine running, not ask who was steering. The day he fired me, he chose a room without windows. He sat straight-backed, rehearsed. "You built the system," he said, almost kindly, "but I own it." He said it like a clarification, not a threat. There was no shouting. He'd already decided. He explained the transition, how she'd be stepping in, how my role had become redundant. He thanked me. He didn't apologize. I felt something in me loosen. Not anger exactly, more like the quiet click of a lock finally turning. I nodded. I asked what day they wanted me to finish documentation. He waved it off. "We'll be fine." I packed my bag. I didn't wipe servers or sabotage anything. I did what I'd always done, left things orderly. The credentials, the encryption keys, the deployment scripts, they were mine to manage because they'd always been mine to manage. I didn't take them away so much as I stopped carrying them in my head for free. The first week passed without incident. That surprised me. Maybe I'd overestimated my importance. That thought stung more than the firing. Then a client audit flagged a discrepancy. Minor, but specific. They wanted an explanation for a data handling exception buried deep in the system, one I'd designed deliberately, documented in a private repo that had never been mirrored because there was never time. The request escalated. The auditors asked for access logs, then for the encryption chain. That's when my dad called. He didn't start with anger, he started with confusion. They're asking for things we can't find. I listened. I could picture the dashboard, the way the status lights would be green while something fundamental was stalled underneath. "I can help," I said. "Under a formal agreement." Silence. Then a breath he probably thought I couldn't hear. "You don't work here anymore." "I know," I said. "That's why it has to be formal." The auditors set a deadline. Not dramatic, just written. Compliance has a way of stripping emotion out of everything. It doesn't care who owns what. It cares who can answer. My dad called again. Shorter sentences now. No gloating, no explanations. "What do you need?" I sent terms, licensing for the software, an escrow arrangement for the keys, clear attribution, nothing punitive, just boundaries where there had never been any. He didn't like it. He didn't argue. When the authority showed up, 2 people with badges and a checklist, it was unmistakable. They asked the same calm questions and waited for precise answers. When they asked who had administrative control, my dad said my name without looking at me. I provided what was required, cleanly, professionally. The system unlocked, not because I was generous, but because the terms were now clear. After, my dad asked if we could talk. We stood in the parking lot. The building hummed behind us. "You didn't have to do it like this," he said. "I did," I said, not unkindly. "This is how it has to be now." He nodded, once, the way people do when they don't agree but understand the cost of arguing. "We don't work together anymore. The business runs, I consult occasionally through channels that leave a paper trail. The family part of it remains unresolved, quieter, thinner, like a bridge closed for repairs no one has scheduled. I learned something I wish I'd known earlier. Loyalty without boundaries isn't protection, it's instruction, and people will follow it exactly.